Tonight,
Formation takeoff, minor B5516.
we take to the skies
We join Bluto and his F-16 squadron for a dogfight at 30,000 feet.
Bring 1-1, flight's on.
Show the altitude stack as well.
without leaving our seats.
Dead. Your candidate is dead. Come up on the top of 39.
We ponder the frightening prospect of a remote control war beyond 2000.
Hello, and welcome to Beyond 2000. Let's see what we've got in this edition. Dr. John is being chased by a computer cop, Tracy's all decked out to be a Top Gun, and one more thing, this. It looks like any other piece of paper, and in most ways it is, but it's corny paper, and could end up saving a lot of trees. First though, Amanda, let's talk about the weather.
The English Riviera, midsummer. You'd think after thousands of years of this, the English would be used to having their summer holidays ruined by the weather. But it always seems to take them by surprise. Today was supposed to be hot and sunny. In fact, we were told to expect a real scorcher. Forecasting at a local level is quite easy. They tell you around here that if you can see the hills 10 kilometres away, it's going to rain. If you can't see the hills, it's raining already. Confidence in official forecasts put out by the Meteorological Office took a severe battering in 1987 when an unforeseen storm lashed southern England with great ferocity, killing 20 people and causing £1 billion worth of damage.
London is at a standstill.
The resulting inquiry blamed funding cuts and outdated equipment for the error, so the disgraced and creaky computer equipment of the 70s was to be tossed out and replaced by the biggest and best that money could buy. Not one, but two Cray supercomputers, each of them 8 times more powerful than the old machines. Modern weather forecasting is based on the belief that mathematics is the key to accuracy. If you know the atmospheric conditions that exist today, say temperature, humidity, and pressure, then apply an equation that takes in all the known laws of motion and dynamics, then you should be able to work out what will happen to the weather tomorrow. The trouble is that you need huge amounts of data to do this. The data is spread over a wide area and in 3 dimensions. It makes for a very complicated equation. And what's more, it's an equation that must be solved quickly. After all, there's no point in struggling through the maths only to come up with a forecast for yesterday's weather. From a meteorological point of view, the world is divided into a grid of reference points up to 90 kilometres apart, with 20 vertical levels from the ground to 25 kilometres. These data points form the mathematical grid for the computer to work on. It applies a formula to each point and makes a prediction 15 minutes into the future. Then it takes that data and makes another little 15-minute jump into the unknown. Bit by bit, from calculations applied to 1.2 million grid points, the Cray produces a global 24-hour forecast. It's a massive task even for one of the world's most powerful computers, but within an hour it can produce a 6-day forecast, 1 day more than its predecessor. The computing power of this machine is phenomenal. A good desktop computer can handle between 1 and 2 million instructions a second. The Cray handles 166 million instructions a second through each of its 8 processors. And its calculation capacity is equally awesome. Manipulating 2 numbers, subtracting, dividing or multiplying, is known as a flop. The Cray can burst through 2.7 billion flops a second. So why, if it's so smart, does it rain in Torquay when the forecast was for a bright sunny day? It's the old computer problem of rubbish in, rubbish out. Reports from tens of thousands of sources like weather balloons, aircraft, ships, satellite pictures and radar pepper the global map with high-quality data. But the gaps still have to be filled, so human brains have to make their own calculations and interpretations. Most of the time, these human judgments are accurate, but occasionally a small error creeps in. That data point error becomes part of the big picture, and the computer compounds the error each time it refers to it. Over time, the error will get larger. But even so, since the arrival of the supercomputers, the Met Office claims a success rate of over 80% and has set up a lucrative enterprise selling specialised forecasts to weather-dependent markets. It's commercially essential for some industries to have advance notice of good weather. Staffing levels, for example, can be weather dependent, particularly at beach resorts and holiday attractions. And as the temperature rises, so do sales of soft drinks and ice cream by as much as 70%. Bread sales rise too as more people make sandwiches. But to make money, bakeries have to have a lot of dough. In other words, they have to have enough forewarning so they can prepare for the heat wave. Long-term predictions are interesting to scientists as well, and the Cray is perfect for number crunching a view of the weather well into the future. Is the world warming up? Are major storms cyclic? The Met Office's other Cray twin is working on providing the answers. It's embarked on a large-scale calculation that will look at the effects of global warming for the next 100 years. It will take a full 3 months of solid computation to complete this experiment, and this is a short one. There are others they have planned that would take this Cray 18 years to churn through. They're already talking of needing a new generation of computer, the teraflop machine, capable of 1 trillion flops a second. That's 350 times faster than this. And that machine is expected at the end of this decade. But there's a cloud on the horizon for long-term predictions. Some of the new chaos theory mathematicians believe that to predict the behaviour of a turbulent system like the weather, we must have a very accurate initial model. In other words, we must know every parameter of every point on the global grid, and not at 45 kilometres apart, not 10 kilometres, not even 1 kilometre, but molecule by molecule. Predicting the weather to a chaos theorist is like predicting the path of a leaf in a waterfall or a rock in an avalanche. They argue that there may be a mathematical limit to weather forecasting, beyond which we can't collect enough data, let alone process it. So science may have reached a hurdle that it can't climb over, and it may have to admit, at last, that we'll never be able to trust British weather.
After the break, debugging the space shuttle.
And the delicious reading of the future, turning food into paper.
High technology and nature are curious bedfellows. It's rare to find one with the other. Spaceports are exceptions. For security and safety reasons, they're usually well away from people. But this very isolation poses its own unique problems.
The Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge teems with wildlife. And apart from the larger species, there's plenty of smaller forms of life here too. One in particular is exceedingly amorous at this time of year. Now that normally wouldn't be a problem in this natural wonderland, but its attraction to the opposite sex is a real threat to the world's costliest space program.
The locals are singularly unimpressed with the multi-billion-dollar investment in their backyard. The Kennedy Space Centre is just another piece of territory to be explored. Over the years, Larry Gast, a NASA entomologist, has rustled rattlesnakes from control rooms and removed raccoons from the space shuttle. But the antics of these intruders pale next to lovesick paper wasps.
5 foot level now. This is the major area where we have problems.
When autumn falls, the thoughts of a wasp will turn to love.
If all these wasps want to have an orgy at my pad, they're going to just come out here and do it. Right here's where we have a lot of them. There's one. Right here, he's coming around this side. That's a male.
They prefer to date and mate in tall trees, on hillsides, notably missing around coastal Florida. In this part of the world, the top of the launch pad is the hottest meeting spot in town.
They kind of get excited.
Overexcited wasps can turn nasty when passions run high, and 100 metres above the ground is not the best place for a worker to be attacked.
Definite fear that they're going to be stung by the wasp or chased over the side. And even though they're very docile right now, they still can cause a lot of fear in the people. And that's the biggest reason that they want us to get rid of them up at this height.
But NASA's concern is not just for safety of their Earth-bound employees. There's a real fear the wasps could be deadly in space.
This is one of the most critical sections of the launch pad. It's where they load the cargo onto the shuttle. This payload section moves around to encase the shuttle body, and these membranes here seal it off from the outside world. A positive pressure environment is created to keep out any dust or dirt. Now, if a wasp was to get in here, it could in fact become part of the payload. It could hitch a free ride into space. The only problem is zero gravity, and any tiny fragment could cause havoc.
Liftoff is a quick and drastic way to control any wasps outside the shuttle. But inside the spacecraft, the intruder could well become a floating catastrophe. Tiny fragments of wing or antennae could find their way into delicate equipment and wiring and cause irreparable damage. Between launches, insecticides can only be used sparingly.
We just have a few in here. You guys go ahead and catch the entryways outside, and I'll take care of these.
Chemicals have no place in a wildlife refuge, and the sprays can affect delicate equipment, especially satellites which are very sensitive to hydrocarbons. But Larry believes the answer to the insect's control lies in their unique language of love.
Did you guys find many outside?
When male wasps rub their heads and tails on protuberances, they release sex attractants or pheromones into the air to entice their virgin brides. Females swarm to the bachelor pad from miles around. Once boy meets girl, their relationship is consummated in mid-air. Convinced they can catch the wasps at their own game, the US Department of Agriculture has taken on the task of identifying exactly what turns the insects on. Both the males and the females produce sex attractants from glands on their head and tail, but it's the male pheromones which are of most interest. The glands are dissolved in a solvent to create a perfumed cocktail. Groups of wasps are observed to see if any particular scent elicits a response. The most exciting cocktail is then analysed to try and pin down the key ingredients that make up the pheromone.
Having isolated the pheromone from the male, they have to find out if it is the love potion to turn the female on. Now, she's sensitive to the minutest amount. There's about 1/1,000,000th of a gram of pheromone on this filter paper, but to a female who's interested in reproduction, it could be the ultimate aphrodisiac.
A steady flow of air in the wind tunnel wafts the smell of love to the female. If it appeals to her, like a bee to honey, she'll fly towards the enticing scent. Once the key component of the pheromone is identified, it will be synthesized and used to lace traps that masquerade as tempting wasp nesting sites, phony maternity wards the mothers and fathers-to-be will check into but never leave. When an effective trap is finally developed, NASA won't be the only beneficiary. Lovelorn wasps tend to upset visitors at nearby Disney World when they swarm around the tallest rides. And as for the wasps, well, while it's said love will conquer all, they just may have to settle for romance at less lofty heights.
you wouldn't read about it. In Western Europe, every single person generates 170 kilograms of waste paper each year. In the United States, it's worse, 270 kilograms. That's 3 to 4 times their own weight in waste paper every year. What's more, fully 1/2 of the US paper production goes into packaging. So, next time you're staring aimlessly at a cereal box, remember this story, where the food that normally goes inside may also be contributing to the package outside to save the trees. Of all the timber taken from the world's forests every year, 1/4 of it will be turned into pulp for paper and packaging. The demand for paper products seems to be outstripping the supply of trees. But a new Italian process offers an alternative, a reversal of the forest decline. Instead of making paper from trees, or more precisely, the cellulose fibres from wood pulp, Novamont, an offshoot of the giant industrial chemical group Ferruzi, has come up with a process to make paper out of corn. If I were walking here in Europe in the late 17th or 18th century, these trees would be quite safe from logging for wood pulp. Paper back then was made from rags. Cellulose from linen, cotton or hemp was allowed to decompose into its individual fibres to make paper, but demand outstripped supply, leading to the great European rag shortage, and also to the alternative, the technical solution of extracting cellulose fibres from wood pulp. Ironic, isn't it, that a great tree shortage in the late 20th century could prove the driving force in the acceptance of this corny alternative. 1 hectare of corn produces 7 to 8 tonnes of starch, compared to the lower figure of 5 to 7 tonne yield of cellulose from a hectare of trees. Cornstarch has long been extracted as a food component, but until now it's been difficult to make cornstarch into some form that could do the job of cellulose. This factory has long made cornstarch, but beside it, just nearing completion, is a small-scale pilot plant to make this new corn-based paper product. A solution of cornstarch gets piped directly across. This is the very first day that this plant has operated, and what's happened is the cornstarch suspension has been piped in to where it's cooked with jets of steam to 170 degrees centigrade, and that turns it into an amorphous gel. A chemical catalyst is then added, and whilst the temperature and pressure is manipulated, the corn is stretched. The physical shape changes into a more fibre-like structure, and when all the liquid is drained away, you're left with this. This pilot plant can produce 10,000 tonnes of corn-based product per year, quite enough to introduce it into commercial paper-making processes. It's marketed as Chart B or Chart By, depending on your pronunciation. Chart as in paper chart or map, and By as in biodegradable. And it's at this point in the paper manufacturing process where the pulp is being mixed and the minerals and pigments added that the manufacturer can replace as much paper pulp with Chart By as desired.
The strength is correlated with the quantity of Chart B we are using. More strength, more quantity.
Experiments have been conducted with everything from 5 to 50% Chart By, but usually it constitutes 25%. At the higher levels, papers have a strong resistance to oils, ideal for greaseproof papers. The addition of Chart By also improves the final quality of recycled paper, that product made with some reused paper rather than solely with virgin wood pulp.
We are quite sure that we can use the same process for the wheat starch and also potato starch.
Who knows? The urban myth of more nutrition in the cereal box than in the cereal may one day be true. In the meantime, we and the trees can breathe just a little more easily. Stand by for takeoff.
Kill that bandit.
That F-16 dogfight is incoming.
Coming up, the handheld computer that could land you in hot water.
Just when you thought it was safe to escape the heat haze and the rat race of Los Angeles and take a trip down by the sea, this happens.
I've got a wonderful feeling, everything's going. Oh no.
Now, I'm not exactly sure why I'm being asked in a not-so-polite way to pull over. Maybe it's got something to do with my singing. What I do know is I'm only one of hundreds of thousands of Californian freeway violators who will sorry, got to watch my language, catch a traffic citation today. The 5,000 police who patrol these highways book up a total of 3 million arrests each year.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
The reason why I pulled you over is your registration's expired.
Oh,
Can I see your driver's license and registration, please?
sure, there you go.
Okay, sir, if I can have you sit in the vehicle for 1 minute and I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, that's typical, isn't it? What happens now is a complicated bureaucratic procedure that starts with the patrol officer writing me a citation. That'll take 5 or maybe 10 minutes. Then there'll be paperwork shuffling to and fro around the patrol headquarters and back and forth between the courts. And in 5 or 6 weeks' time, I'll cop a fine. Now, in the age of the handheld computer, all of that has changed. Oh, so you're back, officer.
Okay, sir, what I'll do here is I'll swipe your card. It'll just take a couple of minutes.
Well, I'm out of registration and it's not my fault.
Just to verify, your first name is John?
And I'm being booked by computer. The automated law enforcement citation system, to be exact. A way of bypassing the blocks that bottleneck the legal system and cause chaos in the courts.
Vehicle's registered to you, sir?
No, it's not mine, it's a rental car.
It doesn't soften the blow to be told that Officer Sanchez is using the FW60, the smallest, lightest, most rugged handheld computer on the market to process my name and address, description, car registration, or lack of it in this case, and all the details of my violation.
Okay, sir, I'll print this out.
Powered by 1 meg of RAM, the automated law enforcement computer puts paid to illegible citations due to poor handwriting. And because this is the only time the data needs to be recorded, it reduces the office paper war.
Okay, sir, if I can have you step out of the vehicle, you can sign your violation.
All this info is later fed into the headquarters computer, which in turn is connected to a similar system at the courthouse. That means my fine will be processed fast and the state will get its revenue earlier. The FW60 is designed for all-weather use, rain, hail or shine. The hardware is durable enough to take into the field, yet light enough not to hinder the officer in doing his duty. From now, all Californian licenses will be written on a card like this. It's a bit like a credit card, but it contains 3 tracks of information instead of 1. More than enough to contain all the data on an ordinary driver's license. When it's coupled with a handheld unit and put through the magnetic swipe, it cuts down the citation delivery time from 10 minutes to 1. And provides a hard copy that's not only weather resistant, it's almost impossible to tear. Now the future for these roadside memory banks is looking good. When the system is soon linked by car radio to the police central computer, the free flow of information to the roadside will greatly assist officers in their apprehension of criminals and in identification of stolen vehicles. It's enough to make Dick Tracy jealous. For now, downloading of the citation data is done from the handheld at the end of the shift. The FW60 is recharged at the same time. Once the tally of violations is recorded, supervisors get an additional bonus. That's because the citation records precise details of who did what, when, why, and where. And that means they can measure an officer's productivity or map a trouble spot on the freeway, all at the touch of a key.
That data is now well and truly in the system. If I chose to, I could fight it in court. But as they say, it was a fair cop, and I've come to pay my dues.
Formation takeoff, mine will be 55-116 standard.
These are the wild ducks, and they're about to go to war.
And if they engage us during that point in time, we'll kill them.
Bluto, Daisy, Face, and Sad Dude. Pilots of the US Air Force 309th Tactical Fighter Squadron. Their enemy today, each other.
And kill that bandit. Again, your objectives is fly your best basic fighter maneuvers.
It may be a mock battle, but the targets in this air-to-air dogfight are real. Bluto and Face will square off against Sad Dude and Daisy in high-altitude air combat training, testing all their courage, instinct and skill in a furious hour-long sortie. But I'm afraid I was stopped just short of the ride of my life. At the 11th hour, approval for my flight was suddenly withdrawn by powers high up the chain of command.
Wish we could have taken you up today. But you can go in ACMI and check us out and see what it looks like there. And it'll be just like flying. Tell them to put up the pilot view.
Yeah.
It'll be like you're in the front seat with me.
Maybe next time.
You bet.
Even though I'm grounded, I won't be missing the action because from right here at the base, we'll have a pilot's eye view of every move they make up there, every missile fired, every enemy kill, and every friendly casualty. And when the smoke clears and the wild ducks fly home, they too will relive every second of this mission.
And when you're out there pulling G's and you're engaged in aero combat, all you're doing is basically, it's reflex. You're flying, you're looking at the bandits, you're flying, you know, as hard as you can. Everything we do is just split-second timing.
Zigger 1-1, fights on.
16, Air Combat Maneuvering Instrumentation, or ACMI, is the system that allows that timing to be tested with remarkable precision. It's a vast network of sensors, tracking devices and computers that provides a view of the entire air battle as it unfolds above. It enables pilots to train in realistic combat situations, honing their skills without having to use live ammunition. The position, the performance and the weaponry of each aircraft is electronically monitored. The system simulates the deployment of weapons and scores the results. The data is converted to multicoloured 3D graphic displays back on the ground, where a training officer can watch the mission as it happens. That's Bluto and Face there in the blue planes. Sad Dude and Daisy are in the red.
1021, you're dead.
40,000 feet above us over the Gulf of Mexico, Bluto has just swapped Daisy with a heat-seeking missile. Face is coming in from the side to line up a guns track on Sad Dude.
Go get him, Tony.
Yeah, all right.
For the uninitiated, it's not as exhilarating as actually being there, but it's a valuable tool for assessing tactics. From here, this deadly serious game can be viewed from every vantage point, including the cockpit.
Pep, call it the pilot view.
Training officers in direct contact with each pilot can monitor statistics such as G-forces and Mach number and keep pilots informed of what's happening. Face has just managed to stitch Sad Dude from head to tail.
Excellent gun strike, Tony. 1022, you're dead.
There are four major components to ACMI. The only part to leave the ground is this missile-like pod. It carries an air data sensor and an inertial sensor, which measure the performance data, such as the angles of attack and side slip, the altitude and acceleration, and pitch, roll and heading information. A digital interface with the plane's weapons system senses when missiles or guns are fired. The rest of the pod is devoted to a relay transponder for communicating data to and from a network of 7 remote tracking stations. These battery and solar-powered units spread across the training range and on semi-submersible buoys help pinpoint the location of each aircraft in the exercise. They're linked by a master station which collects updated information 100 times every second, passing it on to the Control and Computation Centre. Here, high-speed processors compute aircraft positions, simulate weapons delivery, and score hits and misses for each plane. Finally, an accurate, live-to-air picture of the battle emerges on a large-screen display.
Zinger 1-1, knock it off.
By the end of their high-risk game, the scores are even. Bluto and Face won the first engagement, Sad Dude and Daisy scored the second. But should they ever have to execute these manoeuvres in real combat, there are no second chances.
Yeah, we did better.
Who I'm not turning with, and that's what ends up happening here.
Okay. Did you get any shots on me when you came across?
I take shots.
This is where the real training takes place. The ACMI allows the pilots to see everything from their tiniest error to the entire battle. When they're rating their own and each other's mission performances, they're merciless. But they have to be, because mistakes made here in training are mistakes avoided in a real battle.
We relied too much on GCI. We picked up a wrong group.
It's like piecing together a jigsaw puzzle. Each man has his own perception of what occurred in the air. This is where the pieces lock together. Each aircraft, each cockpit, each pilot.
On him to support, I went straight up.
There is no lying in this debrief. There is no I remember this and I don't remember that. And there is none of the childish games that we used to have about who shot who and who didn't shoot who. What we take away from the debrief now allows them to be much more lethal and much better trained.
Your bandit is dead. Your bandit is dead.
The makers of ACMI, Cubic Corporation, are working on injecting more realism into the system. On the ground, with solid fill graphics of aircraft and terrain, and in the air, with real-life visual cues, like smoke to signal a missile launch by an attacking aircraft. Currently, ACMI can monitor 36 aircraft and simulate the flights of 50 guided weapons at once. In the future, it will monitor hundreds of aircraft at a time. And that's not all.
You could monitor the biological signs of the pilot if you wanted to. The capability is certainly there, and it's just limitless. It's just where we want to go and where they want to direct the future of this system.
1 and 14 are dead. 14 copy.
But for all its complexity, all its value, there are some things ACMI can't bring to the cockpit. One is instinct, the other is courage.
After the break, the world's first artificial harbour.
Imagine standing on this coastline about 2,000 years ago, watching the sunset over the Mediterranean. It was the time of King Herod the Great, and in the land of Judea there were murmurings about the birth of a prophet. The king was feared by many, but he was also the architect of an expansive and ambitious construction program.
History says that Herod the Great wasn't so great if you happened to cross his path, or if you were simply working for him. But what he achieved in Judea during his short reign was quite remarkable. Right here on this weather-beaten stretch of coast in 10 BC, his people accomplished an engineering feat that to this day astounds archaeologists for its sophistication.
Sebastos was the harbour of ancient Caesarea, the world's first artificial harbour, built at a place where there was no protection from the elements. Now lying 5 to 10 metres beneath the sea, a few Roman columns from one of the piers are among the only surface evidence of its existence.
This was the major urban center on the seacoast of the Holy Land for about 600 or 700 years.
Avner Rabban from the Centre of Maritime Studies at the University of Haifa is among those responsible for the rediscovery of Sebastos. It was only 30 years ago that the main features of the harbour were at last identified.
This harbour wasn't only a unique engineering achievement in antiquity, but studying carefully how it was built, it was efficient and sophisticated and clever and common sense. It was a model to be copied by the supermodern harbor engineers, working with the nature, with the elements, not against them.
Before playing with the elements, the design had to withstand the elements. The southern and northern breakwaters, extending about 600 metres from the shore, were built in a circular form on concrete foundations. They now form the foundation for an underwater park. Diving on the site, you must use your imagination to picture the ships unloading their exotic cargo. However, in the 1st century, historian Josephus Flavius could see it all for himself when the harbour was operating at its peak.
Most of the time, merchantmen must ride unsteadily at anchor offshore. To correct this topographic drawback, Herod laid out a circular harbour on a scale large enough for a large fleet to be moored by the shore.
The first stage completed was a makeshift island at the end of what would become the southern or principal breakwater. It had to withstand the brunt of the fierce southwesterly winds. An extensive use of wooden frames in the harbour construction has been one of many surprises since excavation began.
Preserved in these freshwater tanks are the delicate remains of the wooden skeleton that formed the basis of the structure for the artificial island. Now, following regular shipbuilding techniques of the time, the wooden frame was probably built on shore from timber that lab testing tells us was imported from Italy.
Indeed, most of the building materials were transported to Sebastos over long distances. Parts of the wooden structure, protected through the years from the devastating surge of the waves, can still be seen underwater. The wooden forms were usually packed with rubble, volcanic ash and mortar. Stability was never going to be a problem. When completed, the southern mole was about 60 metres wide. Remnants of a secondary breakwater, parallel to the southern mole on the windward side, have also been found. This would have served to absorb much of the sea's destructive impact away from the main mole. It's the substructure of the breakwaters, still largely intact, that can still be seen underwater. The maritime engineers made use of a new high-quality concrete at the time that hardened underwater. Hundreds of tons remain on the ocean floor.
These are just a few samples of the hydraulic cement taken from within the wooden structure. And even after 2,000 years, it's hard to tell the difference between that mix and the stuff that they've used to build this boardwalk.
It was a grand harbour in the style of most Herodian projects. A lighthouse and huge towers marked the entrance. This huge tumbling block formed part of the structure of one of the towers. You keep reminding yourself that all this was accomplished without any of the construction equipment and techniques that we know today.
To cut down on the amount of concrete and the construction time, the industrious builders used the forces of nature to great effect. Winter storms, tidal movements, and the motion of the waves dumped sand and silt into the hollows where there was no concrete. And over the course of 2 or 3 years, it packed down,
to make the harbour walls as structurally sound as any in the modern era. Innovation was built in everywhere. Flushing channels through the southern mole carried away the silt that would have built up in the harbour. In those days there were no dredges, but they weren't needed with such a system. The thousands of hours of excavation have also turned up the remains of a Roman merchant ship about 40 metres long. The frame, largely intact, was delicately floated to the surface. Then there's the pottery, coins and other artefacts from the harbour site, enough to stock several rooms at the university. But for the team leader, the real riches are to be found in the technical know-how that was behind Sebastos. Raban believes many of the solutions for building modern harbours can be found here. They'll never reconstruct the harbour, but they can reconstruct the data. Perhaps we're not as smart as we think we are.
I, for one, believe that large chunks of knowledge, including technical knowledge, that once our civilization possessed, got lost in the course of the history. And it's very likely that our predecessors, here and there, in various stages of the history of our civilization, knew things that we don't know now.
It seems by the end of the 1st century, the once mighty harbour had well and truly begun to fall apart. By that time, it was under the control and administration of the people of Caesarea, and without the wealth of the kingdom, it was probably too big and too expensive to maintain. That, and the fact that the harbour was built on shifting tectonic plates, ensured its demise.